The Missouri River Killer, a chilling mystery. The Missouri River Killer is a nickname given to an unidentified serial killer suspected of murdering several women whose bodies were found along the Missouri River, particularly in the states of Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa, during the late 1980s and early 1990s. The victims were mostly young women, many of whom were sex workers or transient individuals, making them vulnerable and less likely to be immediately missed. Authorities noticed similarities in the cases, such as the way the bodies were disposed of and signs of strangulation. Despite investigations spanning decades and connections drawn between the victims, no one has ever been officially charged with the killings. The case remains unsolved, shrouded in speculation and fear. To this day, the identity of the Missouri River Killer remains a haunting mystery, and the victims' families are still waiting for justice. Warren Harris Jr., the French Quarter Killer. Warren Harris Jr., known as the French Quarter Killer, shocked New Orleans in 1977 when, at just 16 years old, he went on a brutal stabbing spree targeting gay men. Over a period of 2 months, he murdered 4 men in their homes, each attack growing more violent. His crimes were driven by deep hatred, as he later admitted to a revulsion toward homosexuals. Harris was arrested after a failed attack on a 5th victim and confessed to the murders. Though a teenager, he was tried and convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Decades later, juvenile sentencing laws changed. In April 2024, after serving 46 years, Warren Harris Jr. was granted parole. Now in his 60s, he is under lifelong supervision, but his crimes remain a chilling reminder of how hate can lead to horrifying violence even from someone so young. The Redhead Murders, a chilling trail of mystery. From 1984 to 1985, the bodies of 5 females were found alongside roads in various U.S. states. Each victim had reddish hair. The deaths in Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Pennsylvania. The killer never caught officially. They are all victims of the redhead murderer. However, there's speculation that between 1978 and 1992 there could be over 14 victims. In 1985, trucker Jerry Leon Johns was arrested for attempting to kill a red-headed woman. His connection to the serial killings was dismissed, but he was sentenced for attempted murder. In 2016, Johns' DNA was tied to one of the victims of the redhead murders. An autopsy revealed the Campbell County victim had been strangled to death by Johns, who died in custody in 2015. However, he passed away in 2015. This made his connection difficult to prove, leaving the culprit's identity still a mystery. Hiroko Duwanto. In the late 80s, Duwantoro arrived in the U.S. on a student visa from Indonesia. However, from 1991 to 1992, he began taking lives for revenge. When his victims pulled out of business deals fearing getting caught, Duwantoro placed the bodies in a storage unit before going back to Indonesia. When the unit was opened, the authorities in Indonesia arrested Duwantoro in 1995. He confessed to 2 of the murders but claimed his brother committed one of them. The cops didn't buy it and charged him for all 3, with U.S. police flying into Indonesia to provide evidence. In 1997, Duwanto was sentenced to death. However, in 2019, after his sentence was changed to life imprisonment, then Indonesian President Joko Widodo pardoned Duwantoro, resulting in his release. The Skid Row Stabber. Between 1978 and 1979, a serial killer known as the Skid Row Stabber terrorized Los Angeles, specifically targeting homeless men in the Skid Row district. The killer, later identified as Michael B. Franco, was responsible for the brutal stabbing deaths of at least 6 victims, all of whom were vulnerable and often sleeping or intoxicated at the time of attack. The stabbings followed a consistent pattern. The victims were attacked with a knife, often with multiple wounds, and left to die in public or semi-hidden locations. Franco was eventually arrested in 1979 after witnesses and forensic evidence linked him to the crime scenes. He was later convicted and sentenced to life in prison. This case highlighted the dangers faced by the homeless population and how vulnerable communities are often overlooked by the justice system until crimes escalate. Antonio Angles and Miguel Riquet, the ALC Sir case. Antonio Angles and Miguel Riquet were the central figures in one of Spain's most horrifying criminal cases, the 1992 ALC Sir murders. The case involved the brutal kidnapping, torture, and murder of 3 teenage girls, Miriam, Tuay, and Desiree, who disappeared while hitchhiking to a nightclub near their hometown of ALC Sir, Valencia. Miguel Riquet was arrested and later convicted for his role in the crime. He admitted to helping abduct the girls and was sentenced to 170 years in prison. However, due to Spanish law, he served just over 20 years and was released in 2013. Antonio Angles, believed to be the mastermind and main perpetrator, managed to escape. A simple vista, parece un hombre común, incluso amable, pero detrás de su fachada se ocultaba uno de los criminales más perturbadores de la historia moderna. Apodado el juguetero, este asesino utilizaba su pasión por los juguetes como camuflaje para sus oscuros impulsos. Se cree que sus crímenes comenzaron en los años 90. Invitaba sus víctimas, muchas veces mujeres jóvenes o personas vulnerables, a su taller lleno de muecos, osos de peluche y juguetes mecánicos. Una vez dentro, el lugar se transformaba en una auténtica cimara del horror. Utilizaba instrumentos de tortura y seduce con partes de juguetes para sumpta sus víctimas, grabando algunas escenas macabras como si fueran parte de un macabro espectáculo infantil. La policía lo captura tras encontrar evidencia en una grabación anónima. En su confesión, dijo que los juguetes hablaban con él y le daban órdenes. Su caso estremecía todo el país, y su apodo quedó grabado en la memoria colectiva como símbolo de una mente perturbada disfrazada de inocencia. Hoy, su taller es clausurado, pero la historia de el juguetero en provoca escalofríos.